CS2 has one really strange problem. You can't honestly call it a total launch disaster anymore. It has been patched, bugs were fixed, performance was improved, UI was improved, specific mechanics were adjusted, and yet the feeling for a huge part of the player base is still the same. CS2 always feels almost fixed. Like one more patch and it'll finally click. Then another patch drops. And again, it feels better, but not fully there. I'm Dale, and in this video, we're breaking down why CS2 feels stuck in a permanent state of almost there. What Valve has genuinely improved, why the feeling of an unfinished game still doesn't go away, and why trust in Counter-Strike comes back much slower than patches do. Let's get into it. The idea that Valve is doing nothing just doesn't hold up anymore. They are fixing CS2, and they're doing it consistently. Bug fixes, UI fixes, performance work, and deeper technical changes under the hood that most players don't even notice immediately, but still affect how the game actually runs. So the problem with CS2 today is not total developer inactivity. Patches are happening, work is happening, and compared to launch, the game is objectively more stable. Valve is adjusting specific mechanics, fixing visual and UI problems, improving performance, and even touching deeper systems like animation tech to reduce CPU and networking cost. That part matters. CS2 is not an abandoned game. CS2 is an actively repaired game. If all of that work is happening, why do so many players still not feel like the game is finally complete? While CS2 keeps living in that almost fixed state, GGDROP keeps it simple. Promo code FFRTQ gives you an extra 11% on your top-up, plus a free wheel spin. Code is FFRTQ. The problem with CS2 is not that Valve isn't fixing things. The problem is that players almost never experience a patch as, okay, that issue is finally solved. What usually happens is the opposite. One layer gets fixed and another one stays exposed. Performance gets improved, but the game still feels off. UI or visual bugs get cleaned up, but comfort doesn't fully return. Valve works on deep technical systems, and the player still logs in and thinks, okay, there was a patch, so why does the game still feel strange? That's the key point. CS2 improves in fragments, not in one clean leap. Not in a way where people come back and say, alright, now the game feels complete. Instead, each patch removes one problem without removing the broader feeling of incompleteness. So the community doesn't feel closure, it feels ongoing repair. Not the game is done, more like the game is still being brought up to standard. And those are two very different emotions. CS2 isn't only fighting its own bugs, it's also fighting the memory of GO. And that's a much harder fight, because players aren't just comparing two games. They're comparing a new game to a full system of feelings they built over years. How the screen was read, how shooting felt, how the pace of a round felt, how the game responded to movement, spray, hits, and mistakes. That gives Valve an almost impossible task. They don't just have to fix current problems, they have to make the new game survive comparison against years of muscle memory and years of emotional attachment. And nostalgia in Counter-Strike is a serious force, because some players aren't only remembering the real version of GO, they're remembering the version their brain polished over time. The cleaner version, the clearer version, the version that felt more reliable. That's why honest progress in CS2 still keeps hitting a wall. Not only a code wall, a comparison wall. CS2 is being updated in the present, but it's being judged through memory. A game can be fixed through patches, but trust does not come back at the same speed. Because trust in Counter-Strike isn't, I read the patch notes. Trust is when you load into a match and stop expecting something weird to happen. You stop wondering if the next update will fix it, if something else will break again, if the game will feel different today than it did yesterday. And that's where CS2 has the hardest problem. Even when Valve genuinely improves the game, players are not always ready to instantly say, okay, now I trust it again. Because trust is built through repetition, through 10 matches in a row that all feel stable, through a long stretch where the game stops surprising you in the wrong ways. through the moment when you stop thinking about patches and just start playing. That's why a patch can land today, and the feeling of reliability may only return much later. Not because players are ungrateful, but because trust always rebuilds slower than repair. And until CS2 reaches the point where players stop stress testing it every match, that feeling of almost fixed is going to stay. The problem with CS2 today is not that it isn't being fixed. It is being fixed, and quite actively. The real problem is different. The game has spent too long in a state where every patch makes it better, but not fully complete in the eyes of the player base. Some problems disappear, others remain. There is real technical progress, but the feeling of completion keeps slipping away. And because of that, CS2 is not only losing the comparison with its own issues, it's also losing against the memory of GO, and against the speed at which players want trust to come back. That's why the feeling is so strange. Not the game is terrible, not the game is dead, and not even nothing is changing. It's this, almost there. One more patch, one more adjustment, one more attempt to make the game feel stable. And if Valve truly wants CS2 to stop being seen as a permanent construction site, it has to do more than keep repairing it. It has to reach the point where patches stop feeling like rescue work and start feeling like normal support for a finished competitive game. I'm Dale. If you want, next episode we can break down which parts of CS2 Valve has truly fixed, and which parts still only feel patched over. For now, that's it. Wishing you nothing but absolute banger games.